My comeback didn't begin in a stadium or at a life-changing conference. It began in aisle 5 of a Walgreens. It was a cold January day. I was picking up toothpaste, nursing a hangover again, clutching a coffee, and feeling the pain rock my brain from back to front. I steadied myself, shopping basket on my arm. The fluorescent lights, a little too bright for me. Valentine's Day was around the corner, but I was worried about my friend Steve. He'd been acting erratically the night before, and I'd stepped in to take care of his daughter, and she was with me in the Walgreens. Together, she and I investigated the heart-shaped boxes of Russell Stover chocolates, the romantic cards with I love yous written everywhere. "Welcome to Walgreens," said the cashier, totally bored. The annoying doors opened and closed, followed by a chilly gust of air. The store was otherwise quiet. That's when my phone buzzed. What? Steve's dead? He shot himself. He'd taken bottles of pain medication, and when those didn't work, he used a gun. What was happening? That's when the ground fell out from under me, followed by a crushing silence, and all the air left my lungs. In that moment, I was caught between two worlds, the one with his daughter in Walgreens, and the other that wanted to run out and scream. But I couldn't break down. I had to keep it together. I had to go on like nothing had happened. It wasn't my job to tell his daughter what had happened. It was my job to protect her from the truth until her mother could get to her. So I put items in the basket. I made small talk. I checked items off a list. I dissociated. It wasn't hard. I was good at not being honest with myself or those around me. I was numb, and I had been for a while. Why? Because just like Steve, I was suffering with my own addiction. It all started 5 years before. My grandmother died, colon cancer, and just days later, my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. I was a mother of two. Between carpools to dance and cross country, grocery runs, making dinner, homework, I didn't have time to deal with my grief. I just drowned it out in alcohol. Every night I poured another glass. Every morning I woke up feeling horrible. I told myself I wasn't that bad. After all, I was contributing to my community, or at least I thought I was, coaching the middle school field hockey team. But the truth was I had started to isolate and turn down invitations to social functions. I was missing out on real connection with my husband, my daughters, my friends, on meaningful work. I didn't want to be this person anymore. Turns out, neither did Steve. I knew if I didn't stop drinking, I could become the subject of a similar text. So I picked up the phone and dialed a friend in Alcoholics Anonymous, AA. It was awkward. It was vulnerable. My voice shook. I didn't even know what I was asking for. But reaching out for connection was a fragile choice I made that day. Now, my first AA meeting wasn't at all what I imagined healing would look like. The room was cold. It smelled like stale cigarettes and bad coffee. A few people were dragging metal chairs across a black and white tile floor, and the noise was grating. I sat quietly with my hand wrapped around a styrofoam cup, waiting for the meeting to start. First, the group said a prayer. Simple words I barely knew, but somehow they filled the silence that had been ringing in my head for months. Then the leader asked, "Is anyone new here?" I froze. My friend beside me nudged me with her elbow. "Hi, I'm Bridgett. This is my first meeting." And then it happened. A room full of people turned towards me, their voices rising in unison. "Hello, Bridgett." Sounds small, but after years of hiding, of numbing, and feeling like I didn't belong anywhere, that moment cracked something open. They didn't ask me what I had done. They didn't ask me why I was there. They just welcomed me. And so I went back, and the next week when someone else said they were new, I was one of the voices that answered. Week by week, I was learning that healing wasn't a solo act. It was in the stories people shared. It was in the laughter that sometimes broke out. It reminded me I wasn't broken. That community healed me. And today I'm 14 years sober. Then a few years later, I signed up to get my MBA. Now, going back to school at 47 is very different than going back to school at 27. I had a husband, 2 kids, a full-time job, and a voice in my head that whispered, "Do I even belong here?" I was a teacher in a room full of doctors and lawyers and business executives. But in a course called Positive Leadership, something shifted. The professor put us in small groups. One man shared he'd married the love of his life twice. For him, this degree was a second chance. Another had lost a son to a drunk driver. Going to school gave him a reason to get up in the morning. A woman was going through a divorce, and this MBA was her roadmap to independence. We were all dabbing our eyes by the end. Their stories didn't just inspire me, they carried me. And they reminded me that belonging isn't something you get from a resume. It's something you build through shared struggle and connection. And research backs that up. A 2024 study in the Journal of Learning Development and Higher Education found that when students are in structured communities or have peer mentors, they stay in school at higher rates, earn better grades, and feel more supported overall. I'm proud to say that on December 12th, 2015, I crossed across that stage and earned my MBA at 48 years old. Woo! It wasn't just a diploma. You see, community multiplies your potential, lifts you up, and inspires you to lift others up too. And that's what happened next. When I crossed that stage, diploma in hand, I knew I didn't want that feeling to end. I wanted to build that for someone else. So I created community for people just like me, starting again later in life, going back to school to build something better. I call them comebackers. Comebackers are one of the best investments any company can make. They have roots in their own community and are unlikely to move away. But without a diploma, they're often stuck at the bottom of the job ladder. Take Haley. Haley grew up in a home hearing the words, "You're too stupid." Her mother said it over and over again until she believed her, and she never graduated high school. Years later, when she would walk into an adult education learning center, she expected to hear the echo of those same words. Instead, the program director looked her in the eye and said, "You deserve your education simply because you exist." 8 words, and suddenly this person rewrote her story. Today, Haley holds 2 associate degrees and she's working on her bachelor's degree. And she teaches in the very adult education center that gave her those 8 powerful words. That's what community does. It takes the story you were given, "You're too stupid, you're too old, you're too late," and it rewrites it as you belong, you're capable, and you're just getting started. Today, I've made a career building and supporting communities where comebackers thrive, and I'm on a mission to tell the stories of comebackers like Haley. Stories tell us what numbers do not. And stories show us what's possible when someone goes back to school late in life. And do you know what the common thread is among the adult learners I've spoken to? Community heals. Community is a force multiplier of your potential, and community helps you rewrite your story. If you're going back to school later in life, consider building yourself a community. It's the X factor to your success you hadn't considered. In a recent Times Union article, reporter Kathleen Moore shares a great example from the State University of New York. They launched a program that builds coaching communities for students, and the results are impressive. Students in the program earned more credits and stayed enrolled longer than students not in the program. Proof that when people feel connected, they stick with it. So how does a good community feel if you're going back to school and thinking of building one? A good community doesn't fix you. It holds you. It's a place where you can show up messy and unfiltered and still hear, "Hello, Bridgett." And a good community doesn't let you disappear. It notices when you stop showing up. It calls you. It texts you. It asks you, "Where are you?" Not to yell at you, but to remind you that you matter. And a good community helps you rewrite your story. It gives you new scripts to live by, not "you're too stupid," but "you deserve this education simply because you exist." That's what makes community medicine for the comebackers who elect to go back to school late in life to get a better job. My comeback began in aisle 5 of a Walgreens. But it continues every time someone new walks in the room and says, "Hi, I'm here for the first time." And we all answer together, "Welcome home." Thank you.